My next patron question is from Andrew, who wanted me to compare two well-regarded films about young love and tragedy. In 1991, two coming-of-age films were released that involved young girl characters who experienced something traumatic. The two movies also come from veteran directors who were close to approaching retirement at the time. Robert Mulligan and Howard Zieff feature two young actresses at early stages in their careers as the lead characters. Reese Witherspoon and Anna Chlumsky feature scores from James Newton Howard, are set in earlier decades of the 20th century, the 50s and 70s respectively, and both explore different concepts of love, family, and death. Of these two films, which do you think is better, The Man in the Moon or My Girl? I think both of these are really well-done movies that successfully explore the arcs, the main characters, and respect the audience's intelligence and how it handles the sadder themes. If I have to pick a preference between the two, and it is very close, I would have to go with My Girl. What I like about the movie is how it mostly just follows the lead character Veda in her day-to-day life. The film manages to show her relationship with her father along with her close friendship with a boy named Thomas. It helps that the script is a smart one, not interested in talking down to the audience or trying to make things too cutesy when depicting the friendship. The conversations the characters have are nicely written and the performances add to this. Anna Chlumsky and Macaulay Culkin work well off each other, and Dan Aykroyd also deserves praise for his nice performance. My Girl manages to tackle some of its themes and plot points with a needed maturity. At one point, Veda finds herself menstruating, and her father's girlfriend, played by Jamie Lee Curtis, has an honest conversation about it with her. Turning Red recently got complaints from some parents for showing a box of menstrual pads in a few scenes. That movie mostly used subtext when discussing the subject, so I wonder if My Girl was similarly controversial for being even more upfront about it. Interesting enough, My Girl was initially given a PG-13 from the MPAA, but the studio was able to appeal it down to a PG, rightfully so. Probably the most famous scene in My Girl is what happens to Thomas. It's a shocking moment that's handled with the needed sensitivity. Many have cited as one of the saddest scenes in any family film, and it gets even more heartbreaking seeing Veda react to it later on. If you ever decide to watch this movie, there's a good chance you're going to cry. The Man in the Moon similarly tells its story with the right amount of sentimentality and genuine interest in its characters. It's remarkable that this was Reese Witherspoon's film debut, as she gives an excellent performance. She's able to show the complex emotions of her character, Danny, and how she deals with falling in love with the neighbor boy, and how she navigates this. The film is able to portray the relationship she has with her family and how she spends her time. It's also a film about sisters, and Witherspoon and Emily Warfield successfully depict the bond as well as the conflicts they have. Like My Girl, the movie knows how to handle its leisurely pace in a way that still keeps the story moving and fleshes out the characters. They do feel like real people with real problems, and the film's not afraid of depicting their flaws. The most interesting aspect is when it explores the relationship between Danny, her sister Maureen, and Cord Foster, played by Jason London. Is Danny too young to have these feelings for Cord, or is she more mature than he gives her credit for? The film is able to develop this arc well, and then things get interesting when Cord falls for Maureen. I've seen comments from people who get angry at Maureen, but I feel Cord deserves way more flack. He knows Danny loves him, as they've had countless conversations together about it, and should recognize she would be upset. He should have known better. I think part of the message of the film is that he also was not quite mature enough to handle the complexities of a romantic relationship yet. When tragedy strikes, it's certainly a sad moment, and Witherspoon brilliantly portrays the heartbreak Danny goes through. She has scenes when she's understandably screaming in reaction to this, and there are times when she's quieter, and both moments are handled well. I will say, I do think what happened could have been easily preventable. Cord knew the dangers of tractors and should have switched it off before doing the action that decided his fate. The dialogue in The Man in the Moon is well written and knows how to convey what the characters are feeling, and the movie as a whole avoids getting too soap opera-ish and mawkish despite many of its plot points. Now let me know in the comments whether you prefer My Girl or The Man in the Moon, and thank you for your question, Andrew.